First and only two-time World Heavyweight Champion, Breaker Moran. And you're listening to the Alliance Guys Podcast.
This is Lois Rain here, and I'm advising you to do yourself a favor and watch the Alliance Guys Podcast.
Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's the radioactive pop with Danny Limelight, United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance blog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Poppy.
The Alliance blog, the Alliance blog, the Alliance blog, the Alliance blog. Alliance? If you put an S in front of Alliance, you have Salliance. That's me.
Are you ready?
Power.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
I'm building an alliance.
God bless the internet.
Okay, let's party. It's showtime.
It's time for the Alliance Guys Podcast, with your hosts Kevin Frazier, Jaden, DKM, and J. Cal.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Alliance Guys Podcast, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your premier source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. My name is J. Cal, and for the past 15 years, yes, 15 years, I, along with my pals DKM and Jaden, have presented to you that hashtag NWA fam news and information, interviews, and so much more via the Alliance Guys Podcast, whether it be from Blog Talk Radio all the way down to YouTube.com. 15 years of talking NWA with you guys. That's a milestone. Quite literally 15 years ago today, your boy Jay was using Blog Talk Radio and the first episode of Alliance Wrestling Radio hit the airwaves. And we were talking about the controversy that was surrounding Blue Demon Jr. and the Sheik. Yes, the Sheik, because a match was proposed to take place in Chicago for NWA Lucha Chicago, Danny Nieves' promotion, where they were going to feature the world's heavyweight champion defending the 10 pounds of gold against the Florida heavyweight champion, the Sheik. And the controversy was all ablaze because the match was canceled. The match not only was canceled, but swiftly and quickly, Danny Nieves was removed from the NWA. 15 years ago, we were talking about that. Of course, subsequently, Danny Nieves would be invited to be back as part of the NWA with Carmen Despiro as they started NWA Lucha Chicago. That was kind of like the sister promotion to NWA Lucha Americana that was based out of, I believe it was Brownsville or Paradise, Texas. I think that's what it was. DK, help me out on that. Do you remember? Was it Brownsville? Was it Paradise? Where was Lucha Americana?
Well, I don't remember where they claimed to be out of, but they were out of Brownsville.
Out of Brownsville.
But I think they may have used Paradise as a gimmick thing.
Yeah. And I know Jaden listened to the very first episode, and I think you were listening to maybe the second one. Were you there for the first one or just the second one?
No, I don't think I knew about the first one. So I joined the second.
You were on the second one. That was 15 years ago, which means that I've known you and Jaden for more than 15 years.
Means you're old.
Go ahead.
Said it means you're old.
It means I'm old. Well, it means we're all old.
Oh, yeah, but I'm older than I was.
And Sean Mega was there. You know, I don't remember Sean Mega being on listening to the first episode, but I know that we were talking about it in the old NWA message board before that was kaputs. And Sean was there for that. And so, yeah, man, we've been doing this for a very, very long time. And, you know, I like to think we've earned some credibility with the NWA fam. You think we have some credibility, DK?
I would hope so. I would think so.
You do or do not?
No, I do. Do you not hear me? I'm not loud.
No, I heard you, but it just kind of the screen kind of like flickered, so I wasn't sure what you said there.
Yeah, I see my camera's having problems again. Oh well, it's going to stay up for now. Hey Jay.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I just happened to be looking at Alliance-Wrestling.com.
The number one source for news and entertainment?
Yes, and there is a breaking news coming out of it.
Breaking news?
Breaking news.
What's going on? What's happening at the... Oh, wow. Breaking news. Oh, my goodness. Goodness gracious.
So,
for those of you who might remember the promotion, Iconic Heroes of Wrestling and Entertainment.
Excellence.
That's what I meant. Late breaking news. You, my friend, have decided to enter the world of professional wrestling by becoming a promoter?
It does appear that way. That does seem to be the way it reads.
What were you thinking?
Well, I'm old, I'm retired, so my brain cells are dying a little quicker than they used to. It's the only thing I can come up with.
Well, congratulations. I mean, I know that, you know, we haven't been able to talk about that publicly, but behind the scenes, Jaden and I have known about your quest to revitalize the Iconic Heroes of Wrestling Excellence, and that you've been looking at trying to get that up and going for a while. So kudos to you, my friend. It's obviously a move filled with passion, and I'm excited to see what's next coming out of Fort Worth.
I kind of am too. So just a little bit of things. I'll actually read the press release because it says it better than I can. Go AI. We are excited to announce Devin K. Mercer has assumed control of, which is missing, Iconic Heroes Wrestling Excellence, IHWE Pro Wrestling. Partnering with one of the IHWE founders, David Fuller, they aim to bring innovative wrestling events to the Fort Worth area in 2025. This collaboration seeks to enhance IHWE's reputation by delivering thrilling, high-quality events. Both Mr. Mercer and Mr. Fuller are passionate about the sport and committed to honoring IHWE's legacy while introducing new initiatives to transform the wrestling industry. Stay tuned for updates on this journey. For more information, you can email info@ihwetx.com. And I need to put that in there because it's bothering me.
Well, congratulations again. And of course, we will be covering that here on the Alliance when all that breaks, when all that, future match announcements come up and everything else. So congratulations.
We are looking at starting in the spring of 25 because it takes some time to get things up and going. We do not have what was I going to say?
We do not have.
Okay, we're looking at bringing things up to in the spring of 25. We do not have a 20-year plan.
That's probably a good idea not to.
I got a 5-year vision and a 12-month plan, which will be a rolling 12 months. And so we'll see how things go.
Well, I will say this. Your passion for pro wrestling is unrivaled. And although you have been very outspoken as of recent years with regards to the sport of professional wrestling. I've always understood that to come from a place of wanting it just to be better. And I'm very proud of you for putting your money where your mouth is. You know, we've seen this before.
You think I have money?
Well, you had money. Where you put your money where your mouth is, like our pal Pole Jump out in Australia, who, you know, for years told us that it was so easy to run a wrestling promotion, and everyone told him, hey, well, then do it. And I think he just celebrated, 8 years of promoting live wrestling in Australia. So I wish
and he'll now be the first one to tell you it ain't easy.
Oh, for sure. And I wish you all the best, man. And we'll be covering that here. Of course, if you guys want to help support DKM and this new venture that he's on, the links, they're not in the chat now, but we'll put those in after the show. Also, there's a YouTube channel. I do believe that if you guys want to jump on and support that. Now, the kind of cool thing about this is the iconic heroes of wrestling excellence. I keep saying entertainment. I blame Vince McMahon for that. The IHWE does have ties to the National Wrestling Alliance, as they did produce a Parade of Champions event many years ago when David Fuller was part of the NWA, right?
Yeah. David Fuller was a NWA member for, I think, a full year. They did the Parade of Champions, which was the year 2016, I believe. It was when WrestleMania was 32 was at AT&T, back when it was still one night. And we were actually the first wrestling event of that weekend. We ran on a Thursday night.
Yeah.
And we were the first wrestling event of that weekend. And we had, I think, all the NWA board titles there. And we had some other stuff that went on. And it was a big and exciting event. You're about 500, which is not bad for local wrestling in the area. And so we'll see how everything goes. As anybody who does wrestling will tell you, the hardest part's finding a place to run. Probably be working with a guy here towards the end of the year, the start of next year, who does some event marketing. So he knows a lot of people. And we'll be looking to do some stuff. Might have a couple of surprises before we actually run our first show. We'll have to wait and see. Things are being talked about. There's always something.
Am I out of line in assuming that you'll be running in the Fort Worth, Dallas metropolitan area?
Most likely, it'll be Fort Worth and some suburbs. With what we're looking at. The goal right now is to run 4 to 5 shows next year.
And that's in the spring of 2025.
Yeah. So we'd start in spring, probably somewhere either just before or just after WrestleMania.
Now, what about like former NWA areas that don't really get the love that they used to, places like Amarillo? Will you be heading up north for a couple hours, or are you good where you're at?
We're good where we're at for now. We got to establish a base first and show that we can draw.
Right.
And like Amarillo, top of Texas still runs there. So, but I'm not saying we'll never break out, but again, 5-year vision, 12-year plan, or 12-month plan. And the 12 months, starts in January of 25.
All right, man. Well, I know it's very exciting. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to adjust my light here. I'm not disinterested in what you're saying. I just look at my face and it looks very white on the camera. I know this has been a dream of yours for a while. So again, all my congratulations, my hat off to you. I think this is going to be awesome, and I'm very much excited for what's next for you in this venture. It's kind of, I guess, we had talked about this years and years ago about, you wanting to run a wrestling promotion. I have said in the past that might be something that I'd be interested in doing. I've lost a lot of interest in running a wrestling promotion, but I'm proud of you for sticking to your guns and getting to a place where you can positively affect the market. My brother, who's watching on Facebook at the moment, that would be Jim Cal, said, "Happy birthday, happy anniversary." Thank you, brother. We've been chugging along for 15 years. It's crazy because I think about 15 years ago and how different my life was. And I believe 15 years ago, I was still living at home in Lakewood, California. I was recently divorced. I was living in a one studio apartment. And, life changes. Life comes at you pretty fast. And 2009 was a year of change for me. I lost my mom that year. It was a very, there was a lot of good and bad in that year. Mostly the bad was losing my mom, but it comes at you fast, and we're celebrating the anniversary of this show. We're celebrating the announcement of the IHWE coming back under the guidance, the direction of DKM. So it's a good Thursday.
And David Fuller. I don't want to leave David out.
And David, yeah, absolutely. And I did not mean to leave out David Fuller, but I know, he's been on sabbatical with the program, and I know he hasn't just been around to promote, and it'll be great to see both you guys take this promotion back and put it out there for the fans to see. So, could I tell you about a weird story that happened to me?
Well, for the right amount of money, you can tell me about anything.
Well, this one is going to cost you $3.99. And so last Friday, I went to a concert. Have you ever heard of a band called the Gin Blossoms?
Can't say as I have.
Oh, man. Well, you missed out. They were a 90s alternative rock band. Had several hits in the 90s. Little band from Mesa, Arizona, had branched out, and I went to this concert with my dear friend, the other DK, and we went to a casino that's literally 5 minutes away from my home. Watched the concert, had a great time. Rick Del Santos says, "That's a great band. I see them every time they come up here." All right, so Rick knows. So I'm enjoying this concert. And like I said, the casino is not far from my home. And my wife tells me that our neighbor, one of her best friends, Bestie, is out at the casino. And another neighbor, they're just hanging out, having a good time. So me and my buddy are, strolling the casino. We just finished the concert. And we walk over, and I see my neighbor, and it's pleasant. They look nice. I look nice. We all look nice. And I start chatting them up like I do. And in the corner of my eye, I see a woman smiling at me. And I think, well, this isn't good. Nothing good ever comes from a woman smiling at me. And as the person got closer, it was my ex-wife, DK. My ex-wife, who I hadn't seen in probably about 2 years because, I don't need to see her anymore. My daughter's an adult now. She comes over and introduces herself and starts chatting it up with my neighbor. And just an awkward experience, really fun. I introduced her as my ex-wife, Bridget. That was great. And later that night I got home and I told my wife about it, and she goes, "She thought you were cheating on me." And I said, What do you mean she thought I was cheating on you? She said, "You were chatting it up with 2 chicks. She thought you were cheating on me."
Well,
that's all. That's the story. That's it.
That'll teach you a very valuable lesson.
Don't talk to people.
Well, when a woman is smiling at you, run.
Yeah, nothing good has come from that. I honestly thought that was...
Especially once you figure out it's an ex, because if an ex-wife is smiling at you, then there ain't nothing good that's going to happen.
Well, the craziest thing was, it's like, I'll be honest, I don't wear glasses, but I probably should, right? Like, things get a little blurry once you're out of focus for me. When you're like maybe, 10 feet away, I can't really make it out. So at first I just saw this girl smiling at me and I thought, what is this all about? And then she meanders over and she gives me a little hug and says, oh, and I said, oh, hey. And she goes, should I not have come over? I'm like, no, this is fine. And then the funny thing is my neighbor is literally like, her and my wife call each other besties. So she introduces herself and I'm like, oh yeah, this is so-and-so. She's my neighbor. And then my neighbor gets super like invested. Oh, so what do you do for a living? And then so I had to endure like 15 minutes of my ex-wife talking to my neighbor. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the worst ending to an evening ever. It was fun. And and I noticed that the people watching the live stream are really enjoying this talk, because I've seen like 3 people drop out of the chat. So, well, let's get on back to wrestling. Let's get on to the good stuff. I thought it was a funny story. I thought you guys would get a kick out of it. Evidently, I was wrong. So yeah, congratulations to DKM and David Fuller. Congratulations to the rebirth of Iconic Heroes Wrestling Excellence. Damn it. I got to work on that. Damn you, Vince McMahon.
I expect you to stay at like 15 times to 115 times tonight to get it. So,
Is it like what is it called when you have to go to confession and they give you the
Hail Marys?
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Except instead of Hail Mary, full of grace, and the rest of it, you just have to say, Iconic Heroes of Wrestling Excellent. Iconic Heroes of Wrestling Excellent. Or do what I do and just call it IHWE.
IHWE. Well, sounds good to me. So what's good? What's good in your hood?
Well, the pizza I'm eating is pretty good. I need to go get me more. But what's good in your world?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. Like I said, we've had a pretty good Thursday today. What did you, we'll talk about it more at length, but what did you think of this week's episode of Power?
Well, unfortunately, my view is a little bit, move your mic. Unfortunately, my view is a little bit obstructed by the fact that X kept crashing on me.
That's problematic.
And I never did actually see the very end of the match. I mean, I know who won, and excuse me, and everything. And I see some setup for them to do some stuff if they play their cards right, which I have no faith that they will. But it wasn't bad. I don't think I disliked anything. Like just, oh, that's terrible. But I had the number 1 contenders match for the junior heavyweight title, and then the Royal Rumble gimmick thing. And I must say, I'd rather they only put a couple of matches on the show if they would give them time. I was tired of the, 3-4 matches crammed into 45 minutes. But it is a little bit funny. You could tell this was taped with the idea of being on CW, because they kept going to commercial breaks during the matches, and they had to put their own commercials on.
Yeah.
So that struck me as humorous. And the Burke Invitational Cup. So I was happy with, that Markova won it, because they really need to do something with her.
I know Noob will agree with you on that one.
I think anybody that's been there long enough, you need to do something. I mean, they have 3 women's titles, and she hasn't held any. And so then it comes a point of, and let's be honest, they put the tag titles on some strange combinations in the past. So it comes a point of let's do something with her. And so I don't know how much you want to get into talking about some things because there's some cross stuff here. But, she won this, so she's the number 1 contenders for the women's championship. There was a story in the Burke Invitational. Thank you, Noob. For, about with her and Tiffany.
Right.
And so that kind of ran throughout both of them being in there till the end. I believe both of them are going to be in a 4-way for the Women's TV Championship.
Yeah, that is late breaking news for me, anyways. And if you don't mind, I'm going to run with that real quick.
Run with that. I'm going to get pizza.
As reported by Mike Johnson of PW Insider, the NWA will be crowning a new women's television champion tomorrow night at the NWA Chicago event in Highland Park at the, I believe it's the One Studio. The match is scheduled to take place to crown this champion, featuring the talents of Big Mama, who really made her presence known in the Burke Invitational, Holly Hood Haley J, Tiffany Nieves, and Natalia Markova, the number 1 contender for the women's championship. That's a pretty big deal. And again, we were going to talk about this in a little bit, but yeah, it's unbeknownst to me, this is a matchup that's going to be happening tomorrow night. Of course, we were going to talk about NWA Chicago, and I'll get to more of it when DK gets back. But here's what the event kind of looks like as it is right now. We do know that there will be these matches as well as a world title match as Tom Latimer will defend the 10 pounds of gold. And again, that 4-way, 3-way match with the ladies of NWA. Again, Markova, Tiffany Nieves, Holly Hood, Haley J, and Big Mama. They'll compete for the Women's Television Championship. And that goes on top of Acid, Jazz, and Marche Rocket taking on the team of Greg Murray and Chris Miller. Shelly Benson will be taking on Lily La Pescadilla Ruiz. Disney. Daisy Kill presents the Chicago Battle Royal Invitational. I have no idea what that means. Chris Logan, Mario Pardua, and Brian Idol will take part in a triple threat match. Axel Rico will take on Rafael Quintero. And I don't know if this is for the U.S. tag titles or not, but Eddie Grayson and Jack Fowler will take on the team of the Country Gentlemen. The card is actually a pretty good card for a Friday night. DK, what do you think about this event, and what do you think about that card?
Well, actually, it sounds entertaining. Now, I don't know a lot of the people on it, but just in general, like Country Gentlemen. So it looks like they're wrestling a couple of young guys, I would assume based out of Chicago. So,
yeah.
Hopefully it'll be for the U.S. tag title. I know the Country Gentlemen haven't officially won it yet for them to talk about. But if they would air parts of this show, that would be something they could air after the fact, and after they show it. So, there's nothing on there that I'm, holding my nose at. So.
And, not for nothing, although it's not technically an NWA event tonight, it's actually happening probably right now in Chicago. There is a Madame Zuzu's pop-up, and it's featuring some of the NWA talent. It's like it's not the actual Madame Zuzu store, but like a pop-up event, which they're doing like I guess they're doing like a shopping experience with mocktails and stuff like that. But they're also having some wrestling matches before the event. and it was only $15. So anyone that was in that, Skokie, Illinois, or near Highland, could have made it out to this event. And again, checked out some wrestling for $15 and get some mocktails and Nespressos and all that good stuff. So I kind of enjoy, I kind of am happy that Billy Corgan is, using the NWA to promote some of his side projects. It's good to see that we've got some NWA activity happening. There was, when Billy first bought the NWA, it felt like there was a lot of resiliency to work with wrestling promotions. When they first debuted, they were partnering with Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. They were partnering with Tried and True Pro Wrestling, and later partnering with Ring of Honor. And they never really had their own feet to stand on. And that's the one thing that you could say about the NWA today, is that they really have made advances where they can hold these events. And prior to the 76th anniversary show, they did that autograph signing at a Walmart near the arena, the ECW arena. So it feels like the NWA, they're part of Riot Fest this year. It just feels like they are making steps to be their own identity, and I think that's a good thing. Hey, welcome to the show, Jaden. How are you?
Thank you. I had trouble getting on. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries at all. You missed it. There's something new just happened. According to Alliance-Wrestling.com, the IHWE has a new director. They have a new person in charge, helping to promote the events that are going to be taking place in the springtime of 2025, and that's our very own DKM.
Congratulations, DKM. I feel bad for you.
I'm sure you do. I have scheduled some therapeutic appointments and, a blood test to make sure there's nothing actually physically or mentally wrong with me that hasn't already been physically and mentally wrong with me. So we'll see how it goes. We blame Jay for almost all of this.
It's true.
I've got big shoulders. I can take it. Just to kind of reset, because I know you weren't here, Jaden. NWA Chicago tomorrow night, they will be crowning a new NWA Women's Television Champion. The irony isn't wasted on me that it's a show in Chicago that isn't going to be televised for Power. At least I don't think it's going to be, right? And they're crowning the television champion, which is a title that's reserved for television, which the NWA currently really doesn't have, right?
I guess it depends on what your definition of television is, but yeah, the TV title should only be defended and change hands. I always hated it when the Jim Crockett promotions or other promotions did it on house shows.
Yeah.
That's not a bad idea. We just got to find a location. I know Dr. Zirconium has been in talks with DK in the past about working and maybe joining the World Wrestling Grand Prix, even though I don't know if there's any resistance to that. But the benefit is he can start booking Valerie Vermin, which I know he's very into that.
That is a plus.
Valerie Vermin versus Aramis. Let's go. Book it.
I don't even know if she still wrestles.
Well, you know what? She owes us an interview, so to heck with her. We get Valerie Vermin on. I'd rather have her on anyways.
Speaking of that, did you I unfortunately couldn't get on early enough. Did you have to play any of the bumpers I sent you?
I could only play one of them because I have to edit.
This is your first and only two-time Dog Heavyweight Champion, Breaker Moran, and you're listening to the Alliance Guys Podcast.
I could only play that one because the other one needed a little bit of editing to it, and I didn't realize it until I uploaded it and the show started.
What about the Goldie one?
That's the one that needs editing.
What about the Jim Molyneux one?
I don't think I got the Jim Molyneux one.
Check back in the chat.
I will definitely do that after the show. But the Goldie one, you want me to play it? I could play it. He just kind of flubs a little bit.
Sorry. This is David Goldie, the World Wrestling Grand Prix champion, and you're listening to the This is David Goldie, the World Wrestling Grand Prix champion, and you're listening to the Alliance Guys Podcast.
Yeah, apparently they when I said to hit the button, I hit pause instead of stop, so it was the same video. Okay.
So I will clean that up in post, but
I will edit that too. If I would have known, I would have edited it myself. I didn't watch it, unfortunately.
No, it's all good. Well, it adds character to it, but we'll like I said, I'll clean that up later. But that's great quality. Goldie looks like $1 million, and I appreciate you grabbing that for us, as well as with Breaker Morant too. Again, he is the only the first, I should say. No, wait, is he the first?
Is the first and only 2-time dog champion.
That's right, because I was thinking Dirty Money, but Dirty Money never held the title for a second time. He challenged for it, but he never won it.
Yeah, he's actually challenged for it against both Ray Jazz and against, I believe, against Breaker. So, yeah. That's unfortunately, Dirty Money's no longer around. He has passed away, because I know Breaker's coming with his final match. And I know Dirty Money was one we were shooting for a dog. Dr. Zirconium would love that. I do know who he is working on, and I can't say it yet, but I will tell you at the end of the podcast if you remind me.
All right. That sounds good. So getting back to, again, this event for NWA Chicago, that's happening this Friday night. Tomorrow night, there will be a new television women's champion. Of course, Max vacated the title. I don't know if vacate's not the right word. Cashed in the title to challenge for Kenzie at the NWA 76. So the vacancy has now created a opportunity for someone else to now pick up that title. And of course, we're excited to see who's going to win it. The interesting thing, though, is they included Natalia Markova in the four-way that also features La Princesa Tiffany Nieves, Big Mama, and Hollywood Haley J. And I got to ask you, Jaden, like, you got to see all four of those women up close at the ECW arena. Do you think you have an odds-on favorite to win the title?
I don't remember Big Mama. Who was Big Mama?
Big Mama was the big one in the match where they all ganged up on her to eliminate her.
Maybe that's why I don't remember. They probably get rid of her fast. If I would put it on Nieves, because I think Markova's on to bigger and better things.
Yeah.
So I'd put it on Nieves, but it wouldn't, even though I'm not the biggest fan of her, I think it would garner a lot of attention if it was on Haley J, assuming she could behave herself.
I really agree with you. DK, what are your thoughts on who should be the next TV champion?
Well, that's what we're going to do, because actually before we started talking about Chicago, we were talking about Power. And it was kind of funny because when I first heard the four, my first answer was, just put it on, Haley J. And then after that, and I started thinking about it, I was like, well, okay, there was a storyline. There were actually kind of two storylines in there. There was Markova and Nieves, and there was Haley J, and was it also Nieves, right? I think they were kind of fighting at first.
Yeah, there was definitely some animosity between Hollywood Haley J and Tiffany Nieves. And even what was interesting is I think Billy Corgan even pointed out that their history kind of stemmed from Ohio Valley. And, it continued during that match. And I know that, me and Milk Mascaras saw that live and in person, and we kind of noticed that right away.
So they kind of have two storylines that they have written in there for them. Now, if I was booking, I'd probably, and I don't know if this is a fatal four-way or an elimination. Did it say?
It just calls it a 4-way contest.
Okay, that's probably fatal. They normally are. They just say 4 ways. But I would probably, through some act, have Nieves go over Natalia Markova, and then have Markova take the women's title, because maybe they would do a better job of actually following up on a storyline with Markova and Nieves here, here for like a third kind of rubber match, if you want to do that, call it that, even though it was the Park Invitational, but they were the finalists. And so, I mean, I think you could do some stuff there. And before you even got there, you could have a storyline going a little bit with Hollywood, Haley J, and Nieves. And Nieves is also the ugly belt holder of Exodus Pro. So, there's some fun you can do there. And
in the chat, real quick, I just want to address when you said bigger and better. I think in the chat they thought you meant that he was, that Markova would be leaving the NWA, but I believe what you meant was that she's going on to bigger and better in terms of getting another main event opportunity against
bigger and better belts. I see Markova getting the Burke.
You think, okay?
Because she's the number one contender.
Yeah.
See, and this is what you do back in the day. You beat the number one contender by somebody else. And then, Paul Jones beat Terry Funk for the U.S. title, and 3 weeks later, Terry Funk wins the world title.
Yeah.
So there was a ready-made challenger right there in Mid-Atlantic for it. So, yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Damian Wayne actually had a win over Cahagas right before Cahagas won the national championship.
That is true. Yeah, he defended his dog title, didn't he?
Yeah, he defended his dog championship against Cahagas. Cahagas has actually had 2 shots at the dog championship, also against Dirty Money. So, while he had very good success with help of controversy, winning the world title in a dog event, his 2 shots at the dog championship, he came up short. And that's no disrespect or disparaging to Cahagas. That just says how that championship was, how competitive it was, especially during the NWA days, where a lot of wrestlers who were trying to become a national North American or world heavyweight champion were using it as a way to elevate themselves, rub our own little star.
Yeah.
Speaking of NWA women too, a lot of them made the NWA, the women's 250 in the PWI.
I wasn't prepared to talk about that tonight, but yeah, absolutely. Do you still have that list handy?
It's in our chat.
Hey, by the way, I don't know if you knew this, but tonight, Jaden, is the 15th anniversary of the very first episode of Alliance Wrestling Radio.
It was actually called something else, wasn't it?
No, that was the original name, the Alliance Wrestling Radio.
Was it really?
I think so.
I don't know. Maybe you should try to upload it as an anniversary thing if you can find it somewhere.
So as I went and looked at the website. See, the problem is when I left Blog Talk Radio, at one point I was paying for the account, right? And once you stop paying for the account, they limit the amount of downloads you could have or uploads you could have. So once I eliminated paying for the storage on that site, they removed many of the episodes. So everything from like the first few years is gone. And I tried downloading a lot of them, but I missed a lot of them as well. Like we had a really fun interview with Casey Carlisle, gone. Had a fun interview with Howard Brody, gone. Had a few good talks with Bob Trowbridge, gone. And I really was crushed and devastated. But as I look back on the post from 15 years ago on the Alliance site, the link was the Alliance Wrestling Radio Show. So I think that's what it was called.
That was a lot of foresight on your part.
What's that?
Calling it the Alliance instead of the NWA.
Well, you remember the original wrestling, the website was going to be, it was originally going to be the NWA fan site. Like, that's what I had planned on calling it. But then, it wasn't even Bob Trowbridge who scared me. It just was like the idea of, if they don't like what I'm saying, they could, cease and desist and I have to stop. So I never wanted to be stuck with that NWA name for too long, even though we did call ourselves Talk NWA for a while. I dropped that really quick when Bruce Tharp took over.
Yeah, and there was a lot of good and some extremely bad things on that they were going to miss on that, like when DK and I killed the show for a while.
For what it's worth, that episode is still available to listen to.
You should link it so everybody can hear just how bad it was.
I will try to pull it up here in just a minute. That was March 2nd. Oh, no, that's when I re-uploaded it. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I put it back up in 2017, but I think this was the official episode that killed the Blog Talk Radio experience. And for you guys, when you get bored later, here's a link.
Yeah, we keep talking about it, and it was bad. I was out promoting Dog. I was actually outside Extreme Rising, their first event, I think. And we had Wardell Walker as our guest, and DK was, I think, not his full self, and I know I was very distracted, and it wasn't the best episode. It was horrible.
The link is go ahead.
And somebody else was on there with Wardell, one of his backers, supporters, or whatever. And this was right after the controversy where they put the national title on him. He said or did something stupid, and they took the national title right back off.
I remember that. I think that happened in Tony Givens' promotion. No, it wasn't Tony Givens. It was
Saw.
No, I don't even think it was Saw. I think it was
one of them happened in Saw. I don't remember which one.
Maybe it was
Damian
Saw.
won it back in Saw, but I thought it was Saw too that he won it. But it was in a cage match too, if I remember.
I think so.
It's been a while.
I just remember it was like very last minute put together.
By the way, though, I know we talk about that episode killing the Blog Talk Radio, but Wardell Walker is an incredibly talented wrestler. And I pushed for him huge for get anything he could, and I still will. I don't even know if he's still wrestling, but he's one of my favorite wrestlers out there. They had a match against Damian Wayne at a Dog/NWA Vintage event. Also was where the NWA National Championship changed hands, where Chance Prophet won it. It was an amazing, absolutely mind-blowingly great match, and I will talk about it forever how good that was.
Okay, two things. Number one, Wardell Walker's last match, and this is kind of ties back to the iconic heroes of wrestling, not entertainment excellence. Corey Constantine defeated Steve Anthony and Wardell Walker on August 24th, 2024. So he was still wrestling as recently as August. And you both were right. The matches did take place at Saw. Wardell Walker defeated Damian Wayne to win the title in a steel cage. Then Wardell Walker defended against another Damian Adams, and then lost the title to Damian Wayne at Saw just the second show after. That was back in 2013.
I wonder if it's the same Damian Adams that actually helped train Ray Jazz and a lot of other wrestlers out there.
Well, I will look into that. Yeah, maybe because he was from New York City.
Yeah, that's maybe the same Damian Adams. There's a couple women wrestlers that are wrestling for both WWE and AEW that have actually had some training with him too.
That's interesting. So, real quick, and before I forget, our pal Willie Bowen joined us in the chat, and he says, "Hi guys, Tyrus is going to have a TV series, but the catering services was wondering where did all the food go." That's why they didn't have the TV series. They blew the budget on catering.
That was actually the TV series. They were recording him eating in a catering, and he ate the cameraman by accident.
Oh no.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, 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 no.
My favorite one is when you're on and you'll know this one on Instagram, not on TikTok, but on Instagram, there's the monkey and it goes, "Oh no, oh no." Every time I see that dumb monkey, I laugh. Oh, don't clip that. Don't clip that. Don't clip that. Please, God, don't clip that.
You use that for a couple of your meetings, man.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That is so clipped.
Every time I see that, yeah. Anyway,
that might be the happiest day of my life, right there.
So, I'm trying to scroll down and scroll up. I guess you guys talk a lot when I'm not available to talk.
Yeah, we did talk a lot. So just to kind of reset what we talked about so far, obviously celebrating 15 years of podcasting excellence. I mean, we put the pro and professional. I don't think anyone could question our integrity, our work ethic, or our ability to have a professional sounding, looking, everything podcast, because that's just what we do.
Or our sanity.
Yeah.
Professionals. We also spoke at length about the iconic heroes of wrestling excellence and their not debut, but their coming back to the forefront in the spring of 2025. We've talked about the NWA crowning a new women's television champion tomorrow night in Chicago. And we still need to talk about the next event for Joe Kazana Promotions that's also happening this weekend, and as well as talking about Power.
Well, we were talking about Power. So
I screwed that
really
up.
went to Chicago.
Say that again. DK, you got to get closer to the mic, brother.
I said we were talking about Power until he so rudely went to the Chicago story.
Oh, yeah. Huh. All right.
Real quick, I do have the women's top 20, top 250. I have the NWA women are currently still in the NWA.
Well, let's hear it. I'll be right back.
Kenzie Page was number 24 in the PWI women's 250. I'm sorry. Max, who I don't know if qualifies, but maybe, I don't know. I don't know the rules, but Max is 59. Maxine Pillar. Kylie Ray is 142. Tiffany Nieves was 146. Natalia Markova is 164. Jay's girl, Ella Envy, is 168. Hollywood Haley J is 201. And her twin sister, Ruthie J, is 230. So it's a very good representation of the NWA women. And the current rankings, according to the NWA, the champion is Kenzie Page. Number 1 contender is Maxine Paler. Number 2 is Natalia Markova. Number 3 is Kylie Page. Number 4 is Tiffany Nieves. And number 5 is Santana Garrett.
Santana Garrett making her return at the 76th anniversary show. I'm not sure that we're going to see her again. I hope we do, because I really feel like, number 1, she links the history of the NWA from the past to the present, considering the fact that she is a former NWA Women's Champion in her own right, took that title to Japan, competing in Stardom many years ago. And then also, she's seen on television quite regularly with the Women of Wrestling, so it was kind of cool to have her show up at the NWA event. Not only that, but I've always kind of rooted for her because her father, Kenny G, was such a staunch supporter of this show. Was always, whenever he got a chance to talk about his daughter, he lit up. I mean, the guy could talk all day, but when it was talking about Santana, you could tell he was a proud papa. And obviously he passed on. But those conversations with him again, another video, or not another interview that I lost to leaving Blog Talk Radio that I regret because we had some great conversations with Kenny Garrett and his daughter Santana. Again, just kind of spiritually always have rooted for her success because of who her father was. What do you think about that ranking? Is 24 too high, too low, or just right for Kenzie Page?
I think Chelsea Green had a good advantage of that, talking her up recently on a couple different places. And I think that helped a lot. And honestly, I don't think they're giving her a ranking for what she's doing now. I think they're giving her a ranking what they think she's going to do, because she has a lot of potential to be a big time star. She is on the small side, but she does have potential to be she is a much bigger fish than the NWA has trouble. Usually the type that NWA has trouble holding on to. So I have a feeling we'll be seeing her going somewhere, and the PWI can say, "Hey, look, she was number 24, and now look at her."
I think she's right where she belongs.
Right where she belongs
in the rankings.
See, I don't know, because while she's had some good competition, the NWA's presence hasn't been there. So I don't think it's been known to be as well. Plus, she's not EC3. She hasn't been all over defending that championship. And I think that's the one thing that I would like to see more of Kenzie, is not just in Crossfire, but everywhere, defending that championship and making it a world's championship. Or it already is, but solidifying it being a world's championship.
Well, I have no idea how PWI comes up with their rankings. There may be some dollars thrown around, but overall, I think she's where she should be.
She's ahead of a lot of talented ladies, too.
Yeah, and I one of the things that I hear a lot of people talk about is the NWA when it comes down to that women's division. Back when Thunder Rosa had made her debut for the NWA, and you had Allison Kay and you had Camille, and things were really starting to kick off for the NWA in that women's division. In fact, even Camille wasn't even wrestling yet for that division when Power kicked off 5 years ago. And we thought, wow, we got something really special here. You've got Thunder Rosa, you've got, like I said, Allison Kay, and then Marty Bell. And things were starting to look pretty good for that division. And then obviously the pandemic hit, slowed everything down. But then, when Thunder Rosa was out there defending that title, making it very meaningful, defending it on pay-per-view, defending it all over Texas, and then getting an opportunity to defend it in AEW, I really felt like that was a big turning point for the NWA. And you would think that when Thunder Rosa left, that maybe the division would hurt or suffer, but really, we saw the maturation of Camille. She took that next step forward. And then one of the things I will say that Billy did correctly was he tried to get a lot of great talent involved. So he brought in like Matt Cardona's wife, wh's name I can't think.
Chelsea Green.
That's right, Chelsea Green. They brought in Johnny Mundo's wife, Taya Valkyrie, brought her into the division. And then they brought in Max the Impaler, and that women's division was pretty solid, even with the dismissal of Thunder Rosa, who, like, let's be honest, she was carrying that division for a long time. And now that, Taya Valkyrie has been gone for a while, Chelsea Green has been gone for a while, a lot of the talents that helped build up that division have been gone for a while. Even Camille has been gone for now over a year. Well, almost a year, I guess. And that division has been squarely on the shoulders of Kenzie Page, of Tiffany Nieves, of Natalia Markova, of Kylie, of Ella. And you see that women's division still is doing pretty good. Is it great? No, but it's one of the more entertaining divisions in the NWA right now.
And you can't forget one of my favorites, La Rosa Negra.
Oh yeah, of course, absolutely. La Rosa Negra has been we'll get to Power in just a few moments, but her performance in that women's gauntlet, the Burke Invitational, was pretty good, man. Like, watching her again, seeing it from a different angle, man, she was so entertaining in that, and she looked very strong, even though she was eliminated. Obviously, didn't win the Invitational. She had a good showing, and I can't wait to see what they do next with her.
This is a good way to make a segue here, because I think Paladin saying I like women more than the men. So, you don't have to talk about those type of preferences on the show, but yes, the women's division is and has been booked and handled a lot better than the men's division for a long time. And to kind of swerve us back into Power, one of the reasons we saw at the beginning of Power is Jazz, who is one of the people behind the scenes when it comes to that women's division. I think that somebody, Billy included, is very smart in probably letting her handle a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, of course.
Because this seems like when we saw Jazz in New Orleans, one of the things I said to her was that I gave her a lot of credit for how the women's division was, and ever so humble. She's like, oh, it's our talent and stuff like that. And I go, yes, but I think you're the one responsible for getting the most out of them, stuff like that. And so, 100% truth. And so I think that was the case. And so moving from there to the actual beginning of Power, it starts with Jazz and what was it, Lance Diamond? Is that his name?
Simon Diamond.
Lance Diamond also at one time too, but his real name's Pat Kenny.
Yeah, Pat Kenny.
Oh, I didn't know he was Lance Diamond. I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
He started off as Lance Diamond. When he was in ECW, became Simon Diamond.
Okay.
Got it.
Probably where we're all confused. Well, not the only reason. But I want to get your opinion on something, because since you were there and saw it live.
Yes.
And I'm assuming you actually watched the show, Jay?
Yeah.
There are some things to me that I think are great for the live audience that just don't need to be on the TV show. And something like this is one of those things.
Okay.
It was a little bit clumsy. It was a little bit awkward. I don't know that, it didn't really do a lot. They couldn't say ECW.
The fans could.
Yeah, the fans could. And I think they could have if you left it off the TV.
Sure.
But they even, they released it, the next day on YouTube, just that clip of them. And it's like, yeah, that's probably fine. But for me, it added nothing to the show and just took up however long it took up. And I didn't need to see it.
So, speaking from my own perspective and my own point of view, that segment did absolutely nothing for me. I wasn't like, oh boy, it's Jazz and Simon Diamond. I didn't feel nostalgic. I didn't, as much as I root for Jazz's success and she's been kind to this show over the years. She even recorded a mini interview with us, and we did a little mini documentary on Jazz. She's great, and I have no qualms about her. And I have never had a problem with Simon Diamond or Pat Kenny. But this whole segment just felt out of place, much like the Billy Corgan segment with the Blue Meanie. But again, like something I for my own personal preference, no, this wasn't necessary. Didn't need to be in front of the audience. Didn't need to be on TV. But what I will say this, and I don't know that there is, I don't want to say that there's that one directly involved the other, but if you look at the numbers for this week's episode, and again, we've talked about the viewing habits of how people watch the show. The episode number 2 on X just surpassed 70,000 views, and there was no special anybody inside the ring. It was just started off with wrestling, continued with wrestling. The first episode had over 120,000 views. It started off with Billy Corgan. This episode number 3 from that's exclusive to X has already had over 60,000 views. And I'm wondering if there is a correlation between the fact that Jazz and Pat Kenny kicked off the show. I'm not saying that there is, I don't have the evidence for that, but I'll say I really enjoyed last week's episode, and it had less views than this week's episode, which I would argue had less star power, but still pretty exciting matches, but started off with 2 wrestling icons in the ring.
And I think that's why it was done, because, well, Simon Diamond, Pat Kenny, Lance Diamond isn't the household name. Jazz has been on AEW television, been on WWF, WWE television, has been a featured part of the NWA, and has both in the Lightning One era and pre-Lightning One era. So I think that is a part of it, plus the whole association with ECW. Say what you will, there are people that live and die by those 3 letters, and to this day wish they have the original ECW back. And I think that's the thing that people caught on to, is because, hey, I know that person.
Yeah.
And sometimes if you can get that person, some people just know Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory. I don't know what the what happened tweet happens to, or next, or whatever happens to be before the NWA does, but at least somebody can be scrolling down and see somebody they recognize, and you can't underestimate how important that really is.
Yeah. So
next.
Yeah, sorry, you caught me off guard. So it's interesting, and like I said, I thought it was a pretty good episode. To me, it was very entertaining. Last week, I still have my qualms about how they crowned the new national champion in Mims, but overall, most of the rest of the show was good last week, especially that tag team match was a lot of fun. But going to this week, we had the Burke Invitational, and we had the one-on-one number 1 contenders match. In fact, both these matches were setting up number 1 contenders, and I don't know for sure if at Salwin we're going to see Markova and Kenzie. I don't think we are, because it seems at the very least that they're hinting on social media that we're going to see Markova and Tiffany Nieves for a second time at Salwin, and then they did say that Taylor will be defending the Royal Crown Championship against Jack Cartwheel at Salwin, and then also we know that the EC3 will be challenging Tom Latimer for the 10 pounds of gold at Salwin. So we have kind of gotten a few of the matches for the next event, but I thought that overall that the show was good. Let's talk a little bit about the number 1 contenders match in the junior heavyweight division, and that's Misery versus Cartwheel. Now, this is my kind of match. This is the kind of stuff that I like, and I know I'm in the minority here, but I do like the high-flying style of wrestling. I do like what some people call flippy-dippy, and this match had all the flippy-dippy. Cartwheel does spend a lot of his time with Lucha Libre AAA down in Mexico, so you kind of had an idea that he was going to be around all around the ring, and having watched Alex Misery in the ring, we've seen him do a lot of high-flying moves as well. What did you think of this one, Jaden? I mean, you were there live. You got to see this match. What did you think of this match? And unfortunately, I did not hear you yell out all of the acronyms for gymnastic maneuvers while the match was taking place. I didn't hear your voice on the broadcast.
That's sad, because that's one of the first question I was going to ask, is did they edit me out?
Yeah, I just don't feel like they put you anywhere near. But it was, for those of you who didn't hear Jaden while we were there, not Jaden, but Milk Mascaris. Milk Mascaris literally went through a litany of gymnastic expressions for Cartwheel during that match, and I was trying my best not to laugh while I was recording. If you see any of those clips that I've posted on our YouTube page at youtube.com/The Alliance Blog, you're probably watching it right now. You'll hear Milk Mascaris shout out those hilarious quips, and I thought it was funny.
Well, do I remember the winner wrong?
Who did you think won?
Didn't Misery win?
No.
I don't know why I remember Misery winning. I guess
Cartwheel's finishing move is called not a cartwheel, and it is like some sort of, it's all the flippy dippy. He does like a 450 spinning Hayukin double ninja Phoenix glory splash.
Space Flying Tiger Credenza. Gotcha.
Yes, I actually kind of like that name, Space Flying Tiger Credenza.
But yeah, I guess I remembered wrong who won, but I wasn't my favorite match. I think I enjoyed more of the yelling of the of the maneuvers than I did the match itself. I liked Misery better than I did Cartwheel too. He actually had some muscle. Like, I think the problem with Cartwheel is he has to run around the shower just to get wet.
Well, he Cartwheel's been in the gym a lot lately, and I only know this because I follow him on social media. But that guy is looking more physical, I guess.
Okay,
not
good for him.
Yeah, no, he heard your criticism, evidently.
Cartwheel, don't be like some other idiots and actually know what beta alanine does. Okay.
Stupid Carson Drake.
Yes. But yeah, if you need a good advice, there's a lot of good people out there that can help you put on a little size and naturally too, and not with artificial negatives that you can worry about. But no, it was an okay match. It wasn't my favorite. I don't mind flippy dippy, but the flippy dippy has to mean something. The problem is when people do flippy dippy for flippy dippy's sake. It's always why I best explain it is sometimes when it rains and it rains really, really hard, the water doesn't have a chance to absorb it. It just runs off and just takes all the sediment with it and creates floods and creates more problems.
Yeah.
But if it rains hard, but it allows it to have time to absorb, then all the ground gets wet and the grass could actually use that water to its advantage. That's what I think flippy dippy stuff needs to do. It needs a chance to stop and absorb and actually get into your body and your brain. So when you watch it, it's not just a bunch of stuff. I mean, I didn't even remember the winner. So that should tell you how that did it for me. You really need to mix in the flips and the flies with the personality and the wrestling and the Jello pudding pops and all that stuff.
The Jello pudding pops. Like I said, I did enjoy the match. What you were saying though doesn't fall on deaf ears. Cartwheel literally does cartwheels for cartwheel's sake, and a lot of his wrestling does involve doing these moves just to do those moves. And I think you're right. Like, I think it does kind of diminish the effect that those moves have. Like, I don't look at the Young Bucks the same way as I look at, the soon to be debuting, forgot their name now.
Motor City Machine Guns.
Motor City Machine Guns. Thank you. They can do those kind of moves, but their efforts in the ring are very specific, and every move that they do has a meaning behind it. Whereas, like, the Young Bucks and the Motor City Machine Guns could have a real fun match, but I think watching the Young Bucks, they kind of just do things just to do it, where Motor City Machine Guns have some meaning behind it. Jack Cartwheel does these moves because he can do them. And, if Colby was still in that division, their match that they had in the past felt more meaningful because, again, Colby's, discretion is to make those moves meaningful.
Yes, and it's a big difference, in my opinion, when you let things absorb and let the fans have a chance to react and to clap and get some applause. Because that was also some of the problem. There was some oohs and ahs, but there wasn't a lot of crowd interaction except for some big mask guy.
Milk mascaras. Now, what I haven't heard is DKM's thought on this match. DK, what did you think of the flippy dippy?
Well, I didn't dislike the match.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not my cup of tea, so to speak, or hot chocolate or whatever you want. Cartwheel annoyed me a little bit because he was doing cartwheels for the sake of doing a cartwheel.
Yeah.
And going into the match, if you'd asked me, I'd probably have told you I like cartwheel better than I like Alex Misery. And coming out of the match, I'd probably tell you I like Alex Misery more than I like Cartwheel. Although those are both low bars.
Fair.
Misery did look like he had put on a little bit of weight. He's a tall, lean guy, so it was kind of hard, but he didn't look just pencilish. So I thought that was better. I probably would have rather have seen him win since I saw Cartwheel versus Joe Alonzo here in Forney.
Yeah.
And I actually enjoyed that match. I didn't feel like Cartwheel was as over cartwheeling in that one. Maybe I'm just not remembering correctly, but I don't remember him just, doing 4 cartwheels around the ring so that he could kick somebody or, whatever. And, for what it was a fine match. I would have preferred Misery winning, but I'm not a big fan of either gentleman.
Okay.
Which, by the way, I'm not saying you won't see any flippy dippy in IHWE in the future, but it is probably going to be a more Texas snug style of wrestling. And if you want to know what that is, just go watch World Class in 83, 84, and 85.
There you go.
If I was able to hit the heart button, I'd be hitting it right now.
Some of the comments, our boy Noob says, I prefer meaty men slapping meat over the gymnastics in wrestling. I mean, Mike Bailey did some martial arts in his matches in TNA. Double D is just shouting out the Elite. Noob says, I hate the Elite and what they did to Okada. He's supposed to be the Goku of wrestling in AEW, and he became a comedy character. That's interesting take. Sean Mega says, flippy stuff stands out in a promotion that don't have no action at all. There you go. Double D says, I got to see Cartwheel in Chicago at a wrestling showcase a couple of years ago. He faced Joe. That's funny. I think he meant Joe Alonzo. Roswell says that match was pretty good. Will was getting some pop out there. Well, Cartwheel gets pop everywhere he goes. And I'll say that I've seen him wrestle in enough places. I've seen him wrestle in Port Hueneme. I've seen him wrestle in Tijuana. I've seen him wrestle in Forney. I've seen him wrestle in Nashville. I've seen him wrestle in just about everywhere you can see him wrestle. And he gets a reaction. Whether you like him or not, whether you like the cartwheels or not, he elicits a reaction. But I do agree with what Jaden said earlier that, doing these moves for the sake of doing those moves diminishes the quality of what you're watching. And I feel like that could hurt, like you said, comparing, as Jaden compared it to the rain hitting the ground. If you over inundate it with water, the water just rolls down the hill. But if you use those moves sparingly, the ground is more likely to absorb that water, and that water gets, has everlasting results. So I do get what you're saying, Jaden, and I do agree with you on that one.
I'm glad to hear.
Thank you. I almost killed the show earlier. I was telling a story about my ex-wife not stalking me, but approaching me in an environment where she shouldn't have approached me at.
Okay.
That's all. I'm not going to tell the story. I don't want to kill the show a second time.
Okay.
So that also, so that was Power for this week. And again, I think it should be noted that the numbers this week are already at over 60,000, and it's only been out for 2 days. The episode 2 from the week before has been out for now over a week, and it's still just barely surpassed the 70,000. And I didn't look up the first episode, but I'll take a look right now. And I believe the first episode is now at 130K. So, and I think they got the first 120K the first week it was out. So there has been a little bit of a regression from episode 1 to episode 2 and 3. But, one of the things that I feel like Luthez said in our Discord that made a lot of sense, and it kind of actually changed how I was looking at this whole idea, was the fact of the matter is the NWA right at this moment doesn't need to get paid for this content. This content needs to be seen. Whereas it would be great if somebody was out there, offering Billy Corgan millions of dollars to put his vision on their programming. But the fact of the matter is that the NWA is so young, and even though they've been around for a few years now, there's still a large wrestling audience that don't know what the NWA is, right? And even though that they have those sacred 3 little letters attached to their name, and that title is synonymous with excellence in wrestling, to the normal wrestling fan or casual wrestling fan, whatever you want to call them, the NWA isn't much of anything. And even though you hear WWE in recent months talk about how Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce have had histories with the NWA, that Cody Rhodes is a former NWA world champion, and we're seeing like some of the stars from the NWA appear in AEW or on NXT, it still hasn't really manifested into a promotion that has taken that next step. Billy Corgan's NWA is essentially where it was back in 2019 pre-COVID. Like, it hasn't really taken that next step. And, we all look at it as, hey, they need to have more. They need to make money for these shows. They need to get paid. Billy needs to make money to promote this wrestling show. But I think the fact of the matter is Luthez hit it right. You need people to watch this show. You need people to engage this show. You need people who are saying, hey, I like the wrestling I'm seeing. I'm going to go buy a ticket to the live event, because I don't feel like they're building up their fan base. I think they're just appeasing the one that has been hanging on since that first episode of Power, the ones that have been hanging on since the 70th anniversary show. For 5 years, they're still just kind of meandering on, and we haven't really got to that next level. And I think that, going back to what Luthez said, I think getting as many people to watch it as possible is the right thing. And to that, I would say, like, hey, it's great that they're making these episodes on X, and it's a big deal. But I really think that they should be just flooding the market with this program. They should be putting it on Facebook, Facebook Live. They should be putting it on Twitch. It should be on YouTube. It should be on, any format where you could watch video. Because I think if the plan is to not worry so much about making the money and getting as many eyeballs as you can to it. I mean, there's what is it, Telegram? That's the other social media site that's out there that does video. I think there's also there's another a YouTube similar product that's more focused on like right-wing politics. It's like, why not put Power on there? Why not try to get as many eyeballs as you can to watch the product?
If
yeah,
you're not, DK.
I was going to say, yeah, it really depends on what your goal is. I was kind of in a dispute with somebody on Discord because they're like, oh, these are great numbers. It's like, no, they're really not great numbers. I mean, you can spin them any way you want to, and you can compare them to TNA if you want to, but you're not comparing, apples to apples, as the old saying goes. You're closer to comparing the big gold belt to ice cream and horse meal, I think is what Bobby Heenan said. It's you got to know what your goal is. If your goal is to make money, it's better to be in one place and draw everybody there so you get all the views there. So yeah, if that's your goal, is try and make as much money out of showing it as you can, then put it in one place. And I don't know how any of these places pay or how well. Everybody who I watch on YouTube who has 200, 300, 400, even 1 million subscribers have been saying that YouTube has, on the payment thing, has gone to shit. So, maybe there is more money at X for now. Of course, you got to be able to watch it. My joke was I crashed 5 times. The app crashed 5 times while watching it. So was that 5 different views? Because I always had to start over.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but I would agree that right now you need more people to see what your product is, and then hope that can convince them to actually go see you live. And I think that's, one of the things James H. Jackson and I were talking a little bit about AEW running those big arenas when they know they're not drawing for them. And, Tony Khan tells whatever little story he has to tell himself to do. Oh, well, they have better, amenities. They have more drinks more drink options for the fans that come there. What the hell? And, I did an open records request for City of Arlington for when they ran at the Esports Center. And so the estimate was about 8,500 people in the audience total over their entire run there. And they paid a little over $116,000 dollars, I think. So it worked out to be like $1,370 a fan. So I'm sure they made money there, because I don't know how much, but because I don't know how much the tickets were. But I'm sure they were over $1,370. So I'm sure they made money, and that's what I would want to do. But for AEW, really, they don't care about their attendance, because that's not where they make their money. They make their money by selling the rights to air their stuff. And, same thing with WWE. Oh, sure, it's great to brag, and they want the money, but they're a profitable company based on their TV rights, which is why WWE can go, well, let's view, let's cut down on house shows and, make it easier on our wrestlers, because they're, so what if they don't put on a house show? They're not losing that much in the greater scheme of things. Well, right now for Billy, unless he can find somebody that's willing to pay a lot of money to show his show, and I don't know any of his business dealings. I don't know anything what happened with CW. I don't know if they made money, lost money, how that worked.
Yeah.
But right now, he would be better going old school and trying to make money off live events. Especially, I know you're not the biggest Brian Idol fan, but if he's going out to these areas and promoting in the ring, I'll call that within the ring. But, if he's going out to these areas, nobody was expecting them to sell out the arena there in Philadelphia, but it very well could have been them at Walmart that did it.
Yeah, no, I've my opinion of Brian Idol changes in whichever role we're talking about. If we're talking about Brian Idol, the wrestler, not a fan, boring, wooden, laconic. Brian Idol, the promoter, that dude has been bringing it for the NWA. I don't know if he was responsible for setting up the Riot Fest in Chicago, but I think that was a great move. I still, Billy set up that the World is a Vampire tour. In fact, when the World is a Vampire tour came to Orange County, California, I went with the hope and anticipation that I was going to see live wrestling while I was there. That wasn't the case. It was just a concert. But for those times that when the World is a Vampire tour has taken place, and they did those wrestling with the live events, I think that was good for business. I think that was smart business, because it exposed a different audience to your product. And I don't know who brought the NWA to Riot Fest in Chicago, but having the NWA there, again, just opened up other people's eyes. Every time that the NWA has been at the one studio in Highland Park, they've had like a pretty good sized crowd. I'm not saying that they're selling out, and I'm not saying they're doing remarkable numbers, but you look at a lot of these events, and there weren't superstars on that card, and people were coming to watch the NWA Chicago. With that being said, the FTW in Florida, again, people were coming to see that brand. And if it was Brian Idol who was bringing the fans to Tampa or to Philly, whoever's in charge of booking these events and getting this stuff going, they've been doing an excellent job. And I give credit to Brian Idol because I don't know who else could be doing it. But it's been pretty much said on other interviews.
Boyle gave him credit, didn't he?
Yeah.
Paul.
So
either Boyle or Paul, one of those two, was giving Brian Idol the credit.
So if it is Brian, then he's doing something really smart and right for the NWA. And like our pal Luthez said earlier, and I'll bring it back up, how many views does it take to equal one paid ass in a seat? Thousands? Look, man, this live stream might get 100 views, right? And I might make $1 from it. Completely honest, full transparency. I might make $1 from this live stream, this 2 hours.
Drink Dubby,
buy a title belt. But if the NWA, has 1,000 people watch their show, maybe they might make a couple of bucks. But they sell one ticket, and that's $30, right? One ticket, that's $25. And yeah, I personally wouldn't be shocked if the NWA went to a different business model and started doing more live events and less television. I don't think that would be a bad idea for the NWA. It sucked for the fans, right? Like for those of you in the chat, for me, for DK, well, maybe not DK, but for those of you who would, watch the show, like that would suck, right? But I think that there'd be more money to be made for the NWA doing live events and not really worrying about putting on television. But, I also know that Billy just filmed 2 days in Tampa. They've got the Saw Win event coming up, and they have more events on the books. And I feel like they do want to put all of this on some sort of format, some sort of video format. But, yeah, to Luthez's point and to what you're saying, DK, like, Double D, did you just give us a tip? Wow. Double D, man. Look at that. You just paid us $1.99. See? It's as easy as that. That shows the most
and you'll get half of it.
This is the most profitable show all month. Thanks, Double D. Appreciate you, brother. But going back to what I was saying, putting asses in the seats is what this should have always have been about. Television should have been a means to getting people to the events. And if you're not making millions of dollars with your TV licensing deals and all that, then more live events, more events where people can pay to see the product. Am I wrong?
I haven't heard anything you said wrong about that. They got to make some money. Just do what they can. Because honestly, is the TV or the X or whatever, it's an old want. I know Dog wants it, but is it really worth having nowadays? Because everybody always talks about social media, this and that, but if you don't have social media to pay for your stuff, then you have to still find a way to get it on there. You have to pay for it yourself. You don't have sponsors. You don't have, people putting money in your pocket, then it comes out of your own. The object is to make money with it and to get people to live events. That's what TV always was. So maybe that's what the NWA should just see whatever they do as. And honestly, even if they do have their live events, they can still take highlights of it. Maybe like their TV show is they should take one match from one event and one match from another event. And that's all their TV has to be, is something that's like highlights the wrestler they want to highlight. And if they're all different places that run the NWA, then they can all record and just with decent quality. And that could be what their TV is. Make it like the old, the show with Joe Penasino and
Pro Wrestling Weekly.
Yeah, something like Pro Wrestling This Week.
and you think about it, right? And I know we're comparing apples to oranges here, but when Dave Marquez was doing well, right, his television advertising was paying for the production of the wrestling show, and it was paying them enough that they were running and they were making money, and they had some title sponsors, and once those sponsors pulled out, that's when Dave had difficulty making money running television. Now there's things that are happening right now that, that might change really, really soon for United Wrestling Network. But the NWA, I don't feel like they're getting huge sponsorship deals for their television programming. It almost kind of feels like a little bit of a vanity project for Billy, right? Like, hey, I'm a wrestling promoter and this is my program and check it out. And we got 60,000 views on X. And when we debuted, we had 200,000 people watching Power on YouTube. But, all that doesn't really matter if it's not translating to money. And again, if they could do live events and make more money, that seems like that'd be a better option for the NWA. And again, to what Jaden's saying, I'm all about that too. I feel like that's, you had a program called NWA USA, and it was supposed to be different from Power. And what it ended up becoming was just Power Light. And I feel like with what you just said is, having a match or two to profile certain talent, to highlight certain talent, to get over a feud or a storyline or something, and a few promos. That's all it ever needed to be. It didn't need to be like a fully fledged produced television show. It could have just been, like Jaden said, pro wrestling this week.
Yeah, and then you have a good host and a couple good commentators who know how to put your stuff over and understand what's going on. It could be really useful because then you could have these different hosts. You could either have the live commentators do the commentary, that they did and just have it that way, or have the host dub it over, or just have the hosts talk about each individual thing they saw. But it could be very useful. I think the NWA in general should have always been doing that, and I know Dr. Zirconium was a proponent for it, but it fell on deaf ears. Too many egos.
Yeah. Sean Mega disagrees with this. He says you need video in 2025. This is in 95 or 2005. If you can't provide that feature, Corgan should just stick to music.
I don't disagree, but it's what actually needs to be produced. In the sense that I wouldn't be using YouTube as a moneymaker. I mean, look, the reason Corgan's doing a show and the reason the show's on YouTube and then X and whatever, it's because that was part of his 20-year plan to have a TV show. Apparently the words on TV weren't part of it. But, yeah, put videos. I mean, that's what we were just talking about. Put videos up. Doesn't have to be an entire episode. Put videos here and there, like dog releases. You don't have to do it, I've told a lot of people this, but if I could watch a show that was put out where I would actually enjoy the wrestling, it would be a dog event. Because I like probably 85% of the videos that they put out.
In other words, anything without Dave Dahl.
Well, you may have said that. You may say that, and you're probably not wrong. I'm also a stickler on what people wear in the ring. But
yeah, sometimes when you have ring crew, they wear what they wear.
Yeah, I know. And but yeah, I mean, Dog puts out top wrestling. WWE doesn't. I mean, they put out a match here or there. They put out events I've enjoyed. Like, I enjoyed night 2 of WrestleMania. Do I see a lot of wrestling? Oh, no, not necessarily. But boy, did I see a lot of entertainment. And it was what it was. WrestleMania is about events. Watching all the people at the end, Undertaker choke slamming Rock, or not choke slamming, choke slamming Rock. Great. It was beautiful. It was a moment. He could barely get him up. Both guys are too old. It didn't matter. It was fun. AEW hasn't shown me. I mean, I've watched a couple of the top matches, such as who was it versus Ospreay?
Ricochet?
No, I would have hated that one.
MJF?
Yeah, that's it. They had a couple of really good matches. I could watch those. I didn't need anything else. I like MJF's character for it and the way he did it, and he made appearances on Wrestle Talk where he was, excellent. But overall, I don't like what AEW puts out. I don't like what WWE puts out. I don't really like what TNA puts out, although I would rank TNA above AEW. I mean, most of what's going on in the wrestling world today, I don't really like. But I do like Dog. I plan on putting out some stuff that I like. It may work, it may not. We'll adjust as that goes. But you don't need all this to go back to say you don't have to do a TV show. You use your videos to get your product over, and then you make your money by selling a ticket. And then if you can sell enough tickets and get enough people in there, I mean, let's face it, most major indies today, super indies or whatever you want to call them, don't have shows. So
yeah, GCW doesn't have TV. They don't put anything out on video, really. You get some stuff that leaks out there for their social media, which I think is their bigger presence, is social media. I actually think nowadays, with the attention span, social media has TikTok has more value than YouTube does.
There's some truth to that. Even and it's kind of funny. James H. Jackson and I were discussing. I think it was either earlier today or yesterday about how YouTube their shorts have gone from 15 seconds or to a minute, and now they're going to be up to like 3 minutes, and that just changed like 2 days ago. So now you can upload shorts that are up to like 15 minutes or 3 minutes long, and it's kind of funny because that's the trend that we've seen in the short content platforms over the years. Vine was like 1 minute became like 3 minutes. Instagram, their reels used to be just a minute, and I think they've expanded. TikTok was like a minute. Now they're up to I think you can go up to like an hour now with the length of your short video. And it's not so short anymore. And now YouTube went from a minute to now 3 minutes. So I feel like that is a new platform and a new exciting area for content creators to go. I don't know how well that works with wrestling, because most wrestling matches aren't 3 minutes. They're longer, but that doesn't mean you can't use the platform to highlight and promote and get things over. And Over Metal, if you ever bring up Tyrus Cohen for 3 minutes again, I'm banning you in the chat. And Devin Dowling says 7 seconds. Okay, I guess I was mistaken. I wasn't on Vine. I was Double D. I was 30 when Vine was out, so that's not really a thing for me. Although I am on TikTok, so go figure.
That's because you like doing the dances. All right, Dr. Evil.
I'm glad you got it. So we kind of covered Power. We kind of talked a little bit about tomorrow night's event in Chicago in Highland Park. We also know that Samhain is coming up. We've had a few match announcements for that. But there's also this event that's coming up, and I don't think I have a graphic for it. Is this it? Nope, that's not it. I don't have the graphic for the event that's happening on Sunday, which is the Joe Kazana Promotions returns to Kingsport. Kingsport, formerly, is still the home of our friends over at Innovative Pro Wrestling, Tony Givens. But they're going to have matches with Thrillbilly Silas Mason, Aaron Stevens, I don't think he's wrestling. I think he's just appearing. Jeremiah Plunkett, Beastman, Aaron Williams, Crazy Steve, Carson Drake, the Country Gentleman, and more. So, again, we're seeing more and more wrestling happening in the territories. We were just mentioning how the Country Gentleman will be in Chicago on Friday night, and on Sunday they will be back in Kingsport with Joe Kazana promotion. So, again, we're seeing more activity come out of the NWA. I think that's a good thing, Jaden. I don't know what DK thinks about it because he evidently just left, but what do you think?
I think, keep an eye on Crazy Steve. I know that people don't like his necessary gimmick, but I think he's actually an underrated wrestler. And he actually has some history with the World Heavyweight Champion, in case you forget.
I did forget. Remind me.
Weren't they originally part of a clown circus faction, Brahm?
I don't recall that at all. But
Yeah, look that up, because I always thought that Crazy Steve was part of a faction with Tom Latimer.
Was that in TNA?
Yes. Maybe I'm wrong, but I seem to remember it. And I wasn't really watching a lot of TNA around that time, so.
So there was a group in TNA that was the Death Crew Council, which was Bram, Eddie Kingston, and James Storm.
No, it was before that. They were all some kind of psycho circus or something on that line.
At one point, Bram was a part of the Ascension, but no, I don't see where he was somewhere else.
Look up Crazy Steve's group, because that's where I swore I saw it. Maybe I'm wrong. I just thought I remember him.
Crazy Steve didn't even come up when I looked him up on Cage Match.
That's because Cage Match doesn't exist.
It's
the North Jersey. It's a central Jersey of wrestling news. Just kidding, guys.
It's oddly enough, they don't have Crazy Steve. Do you wrestle under another name at any time?
No, Crazy Steve.
For whatever reason, he's not on Cage Match.
Well, look up Wikipedia.
Well, Wikipedia is always right.
It's got more information in Cage Match.
Evidently. Steven Scott is a Canadian professional wrestler currently signed with TNA under the ring name. Oh, it's 2Z Steve. Okay. I'll look up 2Z Steve. Crazy Steve.
Or you could have just kept reading on with Wikipedia.
Well, this is easier to look at. Crazy Steve and Jake O'Reilly, Crazy Steve and Gory, The Decay and Impact in TNA. It was Crazy Steve, Black Taurus, Rosemary and Havoc, and before that it was Abyss, Crazy Steve and Rosemary. So, no, I don't see where he ever partnered with Bram.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong, but I swear that there was some kind of circus theme, and Bram was one of them. He was the muscle.
Huh.
Anybody there in the chat remember any of this?
Let's see. In the chat.
That was just a Mandela effect for me.
It may be a Mandela effect. In the chat, James H. Jackson's talking about combining MySpace and Vine and calling it Vine Space. Or call it Mine. I like both of those, actually. Crazy Steve, Abyss, and Rosemary were a team. They were awesome. Can't remember the name, though. The Decay. So, yeah, I think it's just a Mandela effect for you, sir.
Outside, I wish I could remember better.
What are you trying to remember?
Crazy Steve and Tom Latimer as a faction.
Where Latimer with the muscles?
Bram was the muscle, yeah.
Yeah, I remember something about that.
See? Yeah. This ain't Fruit of the Loom. I swear this really happened.
I don't think it was very long. I think it was one of those things that was like, here 1 week and gone 3 weeks later. But I do remember, wasn't it like a circus?
Yeah.
It may have happened at the circus down here in Austin, the circus promotion.
No, I remember being Impact.
It may have, but I remember because there were 3 of them, wasn't it?
Yes, and it was at least 3.
Well, Crazy Steve was the clown, and Braun was the strong man, and then maybe there was a bearded lady or something. I don't remember. But yeah, I remember a 3-person faction that was based on a 3-ring circus.
Yeah, I don't see anything about it.
Well, you're probably looking at a cage match.
No, right now I'm looking at Wikipedia on the advice of our friend Jaden, and I don't see anything about it. So
well, maybe 2 people are having the Mandela effect.
I mean, stranger things have happened, right?
I'm amazed at how often I suffer the Mandela effect.
Over Metal Matt says that you're living in the darkest timeline, Jaden. And Luthez says Jaden is living in the Weasel timeline. And Double D says you're thinking of Black Rain and Relic. You know, Relic spelled backwards is killer.
The group was called the Menagerie.
Where are you seeing this?
And it was Rob Terry was the strong guy. Okay. And Rebel was the lady. And it didn't last long. But there was a strong guy. I just got my own strong guy.
Hey, you got it. It was somebody from the UK, so you got close.
Yeah, all those UK jacked up guys that look the same.
So
let's see if they eat ham sandwiches.
Going back to the women's TV title match, and I know it kind of jumped around. I just saw some of the photos, and you said you didn't remember Big Mama, but that was Big Mama.
Okay. By the way, Mike Knox was also in this faction known as Nux.
Holly Hood, Haley J.
Nook.
No.
Tiffany Nieves.
They were fighting over Tiffany's crown. That's what I remember.
I gotta crown you. Waka waka.
Right.
So, I don't know what you're talking about, Lulu, but I love it. Matthew Underwood says Nieves is a star. So, hey, Matthew Underwood, although we've already talked about it, who do you think walks away with the television title? Are you telling me that that's a Tiffany Nieves trophy? She currently already holds a title from Exodus Pro.
Ugly belt.
Yeah. Well, all the belts in Exodus Pro are kind of inspired by...
It's uglier than Mercedes Monet's glued-on hair.
That's pretty ugly.
Yes. But can we talk about the women's invitational? Did we talk about it at all, other than minor stuff?
Yeah, we talked a little bit about it.
All right, we can dive into it.
What did you think of it? Talk about it, Jaden.
I am weird. I like the NWA's women's division, but I don't think the fans put a lot of energy into it, even though they do here. The 3 quietest matches on the card were the women's matches, in my opinion, with the crowd interaction. I just said that. And I like it. I like some of the talent. Like, I like the personalities of La Rosa Negra. I like the personalities of Tiffany Nieves. I can see the value and the money-making ability and the charisma of Holly Hood, Haley J. I think that Santana Garrett needs to be back, and this is all something I think should be focused on. But they need to find a way to make these ladies more appealing in the ring to the wrestling fans, so they're not just like the crowd. They're not just staring at big boobs and cheering to make Noob the Boob happy.
It's not Noob the Boob, it's just Noob.
I know, but it worked so well.
It did rhyme.
But I think they need to find a way to actually get their personalities over. They need more actual good promos. They need to actually more interaction. I know the sounds reversed, but they need to maybe more interaction with the guys, so they come out with the guys and they can give each other rubs in a non-sexual way.
I was going to say, I think you've been watching a few too many of those pornos that will get you in trouble at work.
You know, there's so much going on at work. Honestly, I'm surprised. A, I haven't gotten in more trouble, and B, that it's going to make a good TV show one day. Let's just say, I've been keeping notes. It's going to make a very good sitcom someday. Probably more like one on HBO Max because it's going to be raunchy. But a lot of fun at my job right now, and it's insane.
Well, I'm happy that you're having fun at your job. What more did you guys want to talk about in terms of the women's gauntlet?
Well, I'm glad Markova won. I wasn't a fan of her at first. I just kind of thought of her as Jennifer Coolidge, you know, the Stifler's mother for a while. But she did actually impress me in a match with Camille. That's the first time I started watching her more. And the more I do watch her, the more I like. So I think that was cool. I like Nieves. I like La Rosa. I can find the value in Haley J. There was a girl there locally, Adriana, who I thought had some ability and some talent, and she's a thick girl. And then I think your chair has been agreeing with me the whole entire time.
At least now it is. That was they called her Big Daddy, right?
Adriana, I think her name was. I don't remember if she had a nickname, but we did see a botch in the gauntlet, and I don't remember it. What was it?
At the very beginning, when it was just Kylie and it was in the ring with Kylie at the beginning, somebody.
I don't remember, but I remember seeing it then because I remember picking it out and talking to Jay about it, but I have no idea what it was, so it must not have been that big of a botch that made me
I think it was one of the Caribbean connection. Ruthie J. And so I think what happened was Kylie did a drop down where she laid flat on the mat by the ropes, and Ruthie jumped over her and then stopped. And then they were just staring at each other. And then finally Ruthie's like waving at her to get up and start moving. So she did, and it was just like going, okay.
Sounds like somebody forgot their spot. That's what you get for calling spots on a battle royal.
Not just forgot the spot, but forgot the number one rule of what do you do when you forget your spot?
Grab a hold. Yep.
Instead of waving her on when she realized that she wasn't going to get up, Ruthie or whoever was should have just dropped down and put her in a headlock or something.
I wonder how many people wish they could have a head scissors put on them by Markova.
Me.
I will say that I was there the first time that DK, I think he bought 2 shirts because Markova was there. I think she talked him into buying 2 shirts, no?
Yeah, because I complained that hers was kind of pricey, which it was. So she grabbed one of, I think at the time it was still Mercurio. So she grabbed one of the Mercurio shirts and said, "Here, I'll add this one for just $10 more." And so it worked out of buying 2 shirts at the price you would normally buy 2 shirts at. Not that I ever cared about Mercurio. I don't even know where that one is.
I know where it went.
I think I gave it to my kid.
Real quick, the order of entry into the Burke Invitational was Ruthie J, followed by Kylie Page, Lily Pescadilla, Bad Mama. I thought it was maybe it's Big Mama, Bad Mama. I'm not sure. Holly Hood, Haley J, La Rosa Negra, Natalia Markova, Tiffany Nieves, Misty Marks, Kayla Rossi, Adriana Mosley, Kelly Madden, and Santana Garrett. And I'll be honest, I hope all of those ladies return to the NWA at some point in time. I saw a lot of females in there that I think would make sense as tag teams. I saw some women in there that I think would be good competitors, not only for the Burke, but also for the television championship. And ultimately, we've mentioned it more than once that the women's division should be, they should spend more attention on that division and help grow it. And I think adding a lot of those women to that to the division would be beneficial. I know that we're going to see Hollywood Haley J at the TV tapings. I'm not sure about any of the other ladies, but I know that Hollywood Haley J is going to be there. And again, I just think that's smart business.
The one I liked that surprised me was Big Bad Mama.
Yeah, well, she kind of fits in. She, there's a lot of women in the NWA that aren't. I feel like the NWA women are kind of similar to the AEW women, that they're not built like they're not built like what's the proper way to say this? When you look at the WWE women's roster and you see a woman like Charlotte Flair or Rhea Ripley or Bianca Belair, or now the women that they have in that division, they're all big. Like, they're impressively muscular and big, and they blend the ferociousness with the femininity. I think that's the right word. When you look at the AEW roster and you look at those women, yeah, you could tell that they're all athletes and that they work out, but there aren't like giants in that division. I think Chris Statler and now Camille kind of stand out in that entire division as like maybe the big girls of it all. And then you get to the NWA and there isn't a lot of big talents there. You've got Max the Impaler, who spends some of her time in the women's division and some of her time in the men's division. But outside of her, yes. What did I say?
Her.
They. But then when you get back to the rest of the women on the roster, none of them are really physically intimidating. Tiffany Nieves is on the more, bigger size. And when they had mentioned Lily Pescadilla, who isn't a very big physically, but is very, very strong. She's a power lifter apparently, and but most of the women do not seem to be, on the bigger side. So I think adding a talent like Big Mama does add to the value of the women's division.
I wonder when Pinky Tuscadero is going to debut.
Right after Billy tours with Captain Skeech and the Shrimp Shack Shooters.
They would totally overshadow him. They're such the best band ever. They're my favorite band.
Your favorite band of all time.
Yeah, they're not one-hit wonders, that's for sure.
Well, guys, I think we're basically it for this evening. We talked about everything. We covered everything. I don't know what else there is to talk about.
Well, no, nothing really. No dog events coming up. I know we heard the news about the IHWE, and that's really awesome. I can't wait to hear more about that. And I do know that there is pretty soon going to be some matches uploaded to the dog YouTube.
That's always fun.
Well, I'm excited about that.
Like, comment, subscribe, and share, please. Go catch up now. Start from the beginning, so when there's new stuff, you go see, some new stuff. Because if you haven't seen it yet, it's all new to you too.
That's right. Don't forget it. And if we have it in stock, it's for sale.
Do you use that line often?
No, I see that when I go to my welding supply store. That comes up a lot, and it makes me laugh every time I see it. And of course, if you guys want to make this part of your wrestling viewing habits, along with Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators, you could also check out our new friends over at Iconic Heroes of Wrestling Excellence. And that would be the IHWE, the new professional wrestling group that's going to be headed by our own DKM. Their YouTube channel now is linked in the chat. Like, comment, subscribe. I think they would appreciate it. DK would appreciate it as we start to see the Alliance guys grow in terms of wrestling
domination. Yeah. The last show that was done by HWE never actually had any of its matches released in full. So there might be a few of those matches that start to show up in the next month or so.
Nice. Make sure to talk to whoever's running the dog YouTube this week, and maybe they can share some. And now I can't wait for Buckets for Rent Wrestling Alliance to debut.
Yeah, I don't hold your breath. You might see Buckets for Rent somewhere, but it won't be hosting a wrestling show.
You sure? I hear there's this place in Arizona that will make a good spot for wrestling.
By the way, the city that I was going to go to for expansion, they just had a wrestling show in that city. I'm like thinking, so you're telling me there's an audience, huh? All right. Well, that's going to do it for us. Again, Bucket on the pole match confirmed. Nobody wins that one. Hey,
Bucket.
The Bucket wins, yeah.
The fans will win. As long as Dave Dahl's involved. Because then there'll be a load in a bucket.
Oh, thanks.
Big
Hey,
fat
guys.
load of gravy.
I've spent the last 15 years talking to you guys about the NWA wrestling and everything else, and it's been a blast. So I want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank
This
you.
last show ever. Oh, no.
No.
We quit.
That's it. I'm done.
We're out of good behavior.
If I murdered someone, I'd have been out sooner. No. From the bottom of my heart, from me to you, I do want to say thank you. This has been a very fun time in my life. The adventures that I've had with DKM and Jaden, and speaking to you guys on this live stream every Thursday night that we've been doing for the last 4 or 5 years. And before that, 10 years before that, when we were talking to you on Blog Talk Radio, or we were pre-recording the interviews and doing them on YouTube. Like, look, it was all a blast. It was all my privilege to talk to you guys. So I do, from the bottom of my heart, say thank you for being a part of all of this. And, we can plan on continuing to do it. We plan on continuing to talk NWA with you guys. This is the Alliance Wrestling Radio Show. We're here to talk all things NWA, but we're also here to create a community, and I feel like we've succeeded in that. And that doesn't happen without your guys' support. It doesn't help with you guys. It doesn't happen without you guys helping out with liking, comment, subscribing, helping the algorithm. It doesn't happen unless you guys are buying the shirts, or doing tips in the chat, or buying Dubby, or buying titles from Trophy Smack, or buying t-shirts or hats from the merch store. This community has been built for the people, by the people, and I'm not doing this without you guys supporting it. So thanks again, and it really does mean a lot to me. And with that being said, I think that's it. Anything else? Buy the shirt. Anything else you guys want to plug before we say goodnight?
I gotta talk to you about what a new flavor Dubby, because I'll probably be buying it next week, and I'll probably be interrupting you in my very short time in between classes to tell you what I need to buy.
Sounds good to me. Until then, we'll see you guys at the matches. Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. for NWA Power. You can find us on social media at the Alliance Blog